Welcome, everybody, to the Esports Apple Cup, featuring a match between in-state rivals, the University of Washington Huskies and the Washington State Cougars. Our esports programs seek to build and foster communities, open doors to the vast career opportunities in the field of gaming, and promote the virtues of healthy competition. Through esports, we are able to communicate with one another, forming and developing digital communities so necessary in the challenging times that we are facing. We hope you enjoy being a part of our community, and we invite you to get more involved. You can follow us here or on our UW Esports Discord server, as well as all our social channels at U of Washington, U of WA Esports, excuse me. Now, to introduce ourselves, my name is Aaron, a second year at the University of Washington, but you can call me Kestra, and I'll be one of your casters tonight.
And I'm Austin Albee, also known as suiriS, and I'm currently a first year at the Washington State University, and I'll be one of your casters tonight.
Now, suiriS, to be honest, I haven't had that much interaction with the esports program here at the University of Washington, but I understand that you do partake in their competitive scene, and I have a question for you. How deep does this rivalry between our two League of Legends teams go?
Oh, it's been hyped up for the last week. Everyone's been crazy and in the servers that I'm participating in, and everyone's been looking forward to it. I know for sure our players have been nervous, and we've been there to cheer them up along the way.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into the first match straight away, starting with the picks and bans, and we're going to see how these two teams decide to conduct themselves as they meet each other in this rivalry match.
That is going to be exciting. Let us see how they draft for this match.
All right, and starting it off, it looks like with the bans, excuse me, it's going to be Seraphine starting it off for Washington State University, as well as Nar and Hecarim for the first rotation. A few of the power picks this patch. Seraphine definitely gaining a lot of power with how much traction the Moonstone Renewer and Staff of Flowing Water build has seen, as well as Nar gaining a lot of buffs in patch 11.2 and on the side of the University of Washington. It's going to be Camille, Olaf, and Kaisa being in the first rotation. Again, lots of power picks. Don't want to give anything that could really wrestle away a lot of priority to either team. Olaf gaining a lot of power in the early game jungle and having a lot of longevity as well with that Gore Drinker once he gets going. And Camille and Kaisa as well, two of the premier champions in their role. And it looks like for the first pick for Washington State University, it is going to be the Galio. Powerful flex pick can be played in either the mid lane or the support. And on the side of the University of Washington, it's going to be Pantheon and Talia. This is a powerful combo because Pantheon's able to set up that stun for Talia, able to get her full combo off. Plenty of damage between the two of them. Was formerly seen in the bot lane, but now these two, again, a lot of flex power here. Talia probably going to be going into the jungle, but Pantheon on the other hand, likely going to be going in any lane, to be honest. And next for the Washington State University, it is going to be Jhin and Elise. Elise is pretty interesting. I think there's a lot of AP jungler options like the Lilia or the Nidalee, things of that nature, but Jhin doesn't surprise me. And suiriS, what do you think about this Elise pick?
Elise pick it's very like niche for the most part. You don't mainly see teams picking it as much nowadays, but it is good for setting up dives as her cocoon on her ear does not do damage, so she does not take aggro from the towers. And she does really good early damage with her AP build and is overall really strong early game champion.
Yep, Washington State University looking to be setting up something of top lane dive with that Elise pick. But the University of Washington going to respond in their first rotation with the Lucian. Again, very powerful solo laner. Can be flexed in the bot lane, but traditionally going to be seeing him in either the top or the mid. Also rather safe as a blind pick, and that's going to be able to round off the first rotation of picks for the University of Washington. For the last bans on Washington State University is going to be the Samira and the Aphelios. Going to be trying to pinch down the AD carry pool. Both of them very powerful 1v5 late game carry champions. And on the other hand, the University of Washington going to ban out the Renekton and the Twisted Fate. Renekton going to be banned out as they are spawning out the Elise pick. Renekton and Elise, a very traditional combo and how much power they have in their dive potential. Renekton able to tank things up with his dominance, as well as Elise able to drop that tower aggro and able to set up some really powerful dives that don't have a lot of counterplay for their opponent. University of Washington going to try to make sure that that doesn't go through. And then the last ban is going to be the Twisted Fate once again. Just a really solid mid lane pick with how much roaming potential it has and how safely it can play this lane, especially against something that doesn't have too much all-in potential. And for the next pick is going to be it's going to be the Nautilus for the University of Washington, going to be locking up that support pick for themselves, providing a lot of CC in this draft so far to ensure that Lucian and Talia have the space that they need to set up their combos. And for the last two picks of Washington State University is going to be the LeBlanc and the Ornn. LeBlanc, another champion that we aren't too used to seeing. Assassins, unlike the likes of something like an Akali, we haven't been seeing something so much as a LeBlanc. What do you think about this pick, suiriS?
I don't think the LeBlanc pick's going to be really strong here with the point-and-click CC from University of Washington. Her goal is probably going to be the dive the backline with the Talia and Lucian, but she's going to have to go over the rocks, and there's going to be the point-and-click Nautilus Soul and the point-and-click stun from the Pantheon, so let's see how he plays it, but it might not be the strongest pick here.
Yeah, LeBlanc pick identifying that the Talia and Lucian are going to be the crux of this University of Washington composition. But it looks like we are going to be headed into the game straight away with this draft. It's going to be the Shen for the last pick of the University of Washington. Fairly even so far, but Washington State University buying themselves some late game insurance in the form of that Ornn. But Shen is no pushover, especially in these tank versus tank matchups, and we're going to see whether Mario Cool 4 is able to make sure that Tygoon on this Ornn doesn't have too much of an easy time in the top lane. And now that we are in game, let's see how these teams decide to pan out this level 1. Looks like both of them going to be looking for this 5-point defense unless something changes here. And Ornn going to be opting for the Corrupting Potion. Nothing too bold here. Not going to be trying to do anything greedy. Knows how much all-in power Shen has, especially at level 2, if he's able to get a lot of those empowered auto attacks off. And both teams just making sure that all of their bases are covered. No one going to be having any invades going on anytime soon. And looks like once Talia gets this ward off in the top side, she's going to be making her way over to the bot side. And what's interesting about this jungle dynamic is that Talia wants to be opting for something like a full clear, or at least 5 camps, so she can make her way over to the scuttle. But on the other hand, at least a bit more versatile in her paths, probably going to be wanting to rush that level 3 and try to find a gank opportunity as soon as possible, but it's something that Mail on this Talia is able to match if he so wishes, and I'm going to be interested to see how Talia decides to opt into this matchup, because, again, the Elise isn't something I imagine that he's too used to seeing.
Yeah, it's all gonna hinge on the early game for the Washington State University. If I don't see them, if they don't get ahead early, I don't see them winning it out late game. The scaling that I see on University of Washington is going to be a little bit scary for them.
Yep, the blue side, Washington State University, they have this Elise and the LeBlanc, and that means they're really all in on making these early game plays happen. But although they have the Ornn, it's not going to be helping too much with their real main carry in the late game being the Jhin, and unless the rest of the team is able to get a lot of space for him going, like you say, it's going to be really difficult for the for the Washington State University to get something going. But it's going to be a fight here in the bot lane. As both AD carries going down pretty low. Press the attack proc on the final hour here, but just a couple love taps here and there, and a potion going to be popped for both of the AD carries. University of Washington winning out just a little bit, but like we were saying, the jungle matchup definitely going to be interesting, but we're going to have to look at the bot lane for now, as both teams going to hit level 2 at the same time, and the Justice Punch going to miss and go wide, forcing out the flash from final hour, and now Boodle's on the run as well as the Ignite goes down onto Oshawa. Both teams going down very low, but the support going down lower on the side of University of Washington. Look at that piercing light, getting even more chip damage onto the opposing bot lane. And what's interesting is that both junglers have opted to path towards the top side, meaning that this volatile bot lane that we've got going on is not going to be punished. And Alpha Perto's making his way up to the top side. Mario Cool going to get caught by the slap from Tygoon, and out there on the chase as the Aftershocks go down. Tygoon going to go wide, and Mario Cool able to walk away from this one with his life as Talia continues on her full clear journey. Meanwhile, the University of Washington going to find themselves a window in the bot lane to back crash that wave into the opposing turret. finding themselves that advantage in the bot lane. And now, with that failed gank in the top lane, Taliyah finding herself 2 camps ahead of her opponent here, but for the moment, both junglers are level 3 with their double buffs available, meaning that this Scuttle Crab could go either way depending on the solo lane priority, but it looks like Taliyah is going to be shaking this one off to Voperto, as she probably makes her way down to the bot lane. One Scuttle Crab going the way of the Elise, as Lamont continuing to put on the pressure in the mid lane. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we talked about how Shen's able to get a lot of value against these tank matchups because of his percent maximum health damage, and it's really starting to show once he has a few abilities under his belt. But Nautilus is going to be rotating over for Mail here. They really want to fight for this bot side scuttle, and both teams are following in suit. And with 3 members of Washington State University rotating in the river already, it is going to be both scuttles going the way of Voperto on the Washington State University. Double scuttle after a boss top lane gank, not too shabby on the side of the University of Washington, or on the side of Washington State University, excuse me. And now Mail going to look for something onto LeBlanc here. The flash is going to come out from Pasho, but the stun not going to find too much. Really well buffered from Marasaber, using that distortion to get away before the stun was able to land, and fortunately that means he was not able to get locked up by Taliyah's shove, and got him to avoid that gank. But now University of Washington, with those double scuttles going the way of their opponents, are going to have to find some different opportunities to get some advantages going.
They have a lot of vision right now in the bot lane as Dragon is coming up in the next 20 seconds. And we see Vorpedo in the bot lane, maybe taking Raptors and then maybe looking towards bot lane to take that Dragon with the amount of vision they have. And Taliyah in the top lane, so it might be a free Dragon for them if they get pressure in the bot lane, but we see a fight happening here in the bot lane.
Yeah, the dredge line going to land onto final hour, but Boodles is going down very low. He gets locked up by the pass from Darkest, and now the teleport from the Washington State University is coming in. Here's the Ornn, but he doesn't have an ultimate. He's able to try to get the Searing Charge onto the AD carry, but Darkest is going to down very low instead. The top laner of Washington State University able to pick that kill up for himself with a well-placed teleport. Really well played from them, able to stay alive on that Galio and buy enough time for that teleport to go through, even in the face of the dredge line. Well played from Washington State University, and with Elise now on the Dragon, that's going to mean this one might be going uncontested just by virtue of the numbers advantage, but we have to keep in mind Voperto's looking pretty low, and Boodles is as well. They've got to respect the poke from Mail on this Taliyah, and with Pantheon rotating down as well, it looks like they might be trying to give this one up. They have the health bars at least on final hour, but it looks like with the channeled recalls, they are going to be giving this one up. Unfortunately, only able to get the first blood off that exchange. Going to have to be seeding this Mountain Dragon away, and I can imagine that does hurt for Washington State University, given how much value it gains on champions like Galio and Ornn, who innately gain resistances, but nothing too bad for the Washington State University. Again, able to get that first blood and find themselves 600 gold ahead at this stage, and that's really going to change the dynamic of this top lane matchup. Thanks to the gold that Tygoon was able to pick up in the bot lane, suddenly Mario Cool not able to get that much going in those trades because of the item advantage, and it's only going to get bigger because Tygoon is able to purchase those items in the middle of lane. That's going to give him a lot of space just to keep shoving the wave into the opposing turret, and maybe find an opportunity for this dive that Elise is making her way over here for Galio as well. He doesn't have the ultimate, but that's not going to be necessary, as Call of the Forge God is going to whiff. And Mario Cool once again able to walk away from that gank unscathed. Did have to use his flash there, and is going to lose a lot of experience from Tygoon and Voperto crashing this wave into his turret. But once again, the top lane gank not going to gain much for Washington State University, as Pasho waiting in the wings in the bot lane. It looks like with Taliyah making her way down into the bot, they might be setting up a dive here with that Grand Starfall. We'll see. The wave is going to be sent into the opposing turret, but Washington State University not quite there yet. The ward is going to spot out the Taliyah, and the pings are there as well. Galio's going to see her, and it looks like Washington State University going to be tipped off to what's going on, as Taliyah is going to go for the red buff, and Boodles maybe trying to win back a little bit of space here, try to get his AD carry some of that experience that he's getting zoned off of right now, but at least forced to relegate herself to the top side, and that's going to mean that 2 plates are going to go the way of the bot side of the University of Washington, just evening things out in relation to that top dive, which only fruited a single plate. Looks like for the moment, University of Washington's bot lane really winning out for their team here, as the taunt is going to land onto Tygoon, but he's able to trade out pretty well unless that clap gets blocked by the Spirit's Refuge, and maybe Boodle's looking for something down there in the bot lane, but looks like for the moment, Both junglers just going to go back to making sure that their camps are resetting for the moment. And how are you assessing the game state right now, suiriS, with how we both got going on the bot lane?
Right now, the gold is very, very close, only within 300 of each other.
Hold on a second. We've got an all-in going on in the mid lane at the damn block the ethereal chains, and Marsaber going down very low. Both ignites used from each of the mid laners, but Marsaber able to keep his flash on as well. Not too much gain for Pasho there, as he was just trying to force the wave into the opposing turret and did find himself in a bit of a sticky situation, but he is going to be able to win out there and find himself at least a wave ahead of his opponent for the moment. And like he said, it's just small advantages that are going to make this gold pretty even, but even more advantages in the top lane. And now someone in the bot is Darkest is going to get locked up by the Justice Punch and is forced to flash away as the Dreadline lands onto the Elise, who finds herself a bit too far into the turret, but she keeps herself alive for just a little bit as Darkest is able to find that last kill from the turret shot, from that repel and teleport from the Shen. That Stand United is going to get cancelled, and now maybe Oshawott going to get himself killed here. Is going to stick on very low. Final arrow trying to secure that kill for himself as Pasho finally with that grand Starfall, excuse me, able to pick up that kill and the Weaver's Wall from Taliyah. That double global ultimate combo doing so much for the University of Washington and finding themselves 2 kills advantaged in this game, now 3-1, and suddenly the gold has turned into their favor with a well-played bot gank.
It's insane the amount of pressure they get with the Taliyah Pantheon. As you can tell there, they turned something that was really harsh for the bot lane into a hard win. That's going to lead them to a massive gold lead here right
maybe
now.
They're going to find themselves some more here as Mario Cool 4, he's waiting out the Forge Fire breath as now Tycoon forces that Searing Charge to get away. Mario Cool not able to secure that kill without his flash, but is showing his stuff here in the top lane. Even with just the Bomby Cinder, he's able to do so much in these trades just by virtue of the matchup, and especially even being about 10 CS down. And even with that CS deficit, it's being made up on the other sides of the map, especially in the bot lane. Oshawott continuing to accrue those CS advantages and now finding himself 3 assists thanks to those double goal ultimate combo from Mail and Pasho. And now suddenly, with this next dragon coming up, things are really looking in favor of the University of Washington, unless this Elise, Boperto, has to make something happen in the bot lane before this dragon. But we saw last time before the Mountain Dragon happened, they were able to find that pick, and now here's a pick down here in the bot lane as Darkest able to find the dredge line onto Boodles and the teleport from the Ornn coming out as well. Here's the call of the Forge God going to go through, it's going to get cancelled, is going to find this, the Nautilus. Now Tycoon able to walk away from this one, has a lot of tankiness with that Aftershock, but he's going to commit to his death and try to find a little bit of a hook, but not quite just yet, as Tycoon finally going to go down to Mail there with a little bit of the red buff from the Taliyah, and now the rest of the University of Washington going to get rooted up and now taunted up by the Galio, but the Taliyah is doing so much David, and now Marsaber all by his lonesome is going to get the triple kill for the Taliyah. University of Washington winning big in that bot lane trade as the curtain is going to open up and try to find Oshawott. It's going to get 1 kill and a Dark Harvest stack, but that is all it is going to find. It is just the Jhin and the Elise maybe trying to contest here as Mail is going to find the Elise out. Cocoon going to land, but a Dark Harvest going the way of the Taliyah, and it is going to mean that the second dragon of the game is going the way of the University of Washington, and now suddenly what looked like an even game is looking devastating for Washington State University with a 4-0-0 Taliyah securing the second dragon for the University of Washington.
Yeah, we can see the comp really come into play there, and the Elise coming in late. We didn't see much damage come out from the LeBlanc. She kind of just got shut down by the Pantheon shield and then CC'd to her death and not putting in much use there. I can't really see the point of this pick just yet, but yeah, we don't know until it's over.
We can imagine that LeBlanc's, the idea behind this pick is to try to access that backline, but we have to keep in mind how much peel is available in this University of Washington composition. We've got Nautilus with CC on all of his abilities, as well as the stun from Pantheon and the taunt from Shen. Just so much to keep this backline alive, and now suddenly Boodles is going to find himself a bit too far forward into this backline. Darkest maybe going to go down here as the Stand United is going to keep him alive. He's going to stay alive in that pink ward, and now the taunt's going to go down as well as Mail. Keeping himself alive is going to get another kill for himself onto the opposing mid laner. Another kill as well, double kill for the jungler of the University of Washington. The Grand Starfall comes down onto Boperto, is going to get locked up, doesn't have the repel quite just yet. He's going to go down to 1 HP, has the movement speed from the Cloud Dragon, but so does Pasho. And once again, University of Washington winning out so big in these neutral objective fights, going to pick themselves up the Rift Herald as well as 4 kills going their way. I don't think that Washington State University even picked up a single kill there, and suddenly this early game composition that they had going for themselves is going completely south.
Yeah, they had all these dominoes in place, and their house of cards is now falling down. I don't see them coming back with this. They had an early game comp, and they're getting stomped in that. I can't see them coming back late game unless we see University of Washington throw it really big time and
Yeah, I wouldn't
from how they're
discount them
playing.
quite just yet. It's not like University of Washington has certain late game monsters, although the Talia and Lucian, of course, scaling very well, but like we pointed out earlier, Elise and LeBlanc only going to continue to falter in their usefulness as this game goes forward, and it's going to be even more difficult given how ahead these backliners that they're trying to find themselves are getting. Mail has 10 Dark Seal stacks, as well as the fully completed mythic item, and look at that, he's able to find the shove and the kill from the spear from Pasho. Full combo is able to delete the AD carry of Washington State University, and now the stun as well is going to be buffered with the cocoon, and Boodle's forced to flash away from this one. As this two-man unit of the Talia and the Pantheon, just showing how powerful these two champions are that they picked up in their first rotation of this draft, not even needing their global ultimates to find that synergy. And thus this two-man unit is forcing so many resources of Washington State University down here into the bot lane, able to get that second charge of the Rift Herald, and Mail has so much impunity to just keep looking for these shoves. If he just gets one more full combo, he's as one member of Washington State University is going to find themselves just like Final Hour there, getting completely obliterated before they get a chance to react, and it's only going to get worse if Mail decides to offer something like the Magi Soul Stealer at this rate. But suiriS, how do you think that Washington State University can find themselves an opportunity to get back into this game?
We really need to see the LeBlanc here get activated and really get onto that Talia, but it's going to be very hard for him. But if he can achieve this goal, I think there's going to be a chance, because a lot of their damage is going to be coming out from the
hold on a second. The Weaver's Wall going to cut off Final Hour's, forced to use the flash to get trash through his turret, but Pasha going to finish it off with one last charge of that Aegis Assault. Final Hour just walking a bit too far forward from his turret. Looks like he forgot whose territory that was down there in the ball lane, and even Oshawott is able to find himself a lot of opportunities in this 1v1 against Marsaber. Usually you'd imagine it's the LeBlanc one-shotting the AD carry in this position, but Oshawott not even needing to use the culling in that combat situation in order to shove that one into the mid lane. And LeBlanc continuing to be stunted here in the mid as the Call of the Forge God is going to go down as well. Mario Cole doing so well to dodge away from it, but now there are three members of Washington State University here. The Spirit Refuge is going to block so many auto attacks as the Repel is going to go down, and once again, Mario Cole able to walk away from the gank. Everything you throw at this man, he's able to walk away from it without a scratch, and not even handing over so much as a kill. And now Mail is joining the fight as Goperdo is going down very low with those pebbles, and now the Stand United is going to come through as well. Suddenly it's a 2v3 situation with the health bars going very low on the side of Washington State University. The flash is going down from Tygoon, but the Elise is stranded in the alcove, and Mail is looking. Is he able to find it? Yes, he's able to get it with that chilling spite. Another kill going the way of the godlike Mail on this Talia. And the LeBlanc not finding herself up there for that rotation, still finding herself in this 1v1 against the AD carry, but not even coming out advantageously. She is so stunted in this situation, having to go for the Mercury stretch as well as the Seeker's arm guard, just not getting that mythic item power spike that she really needs to come online and be that pick opportunity finder that Washington State University needs. But once again, in the top lane, Mario Cool completely able to outplay the dive from Washington State University.
The gold lead has been massive so far. We see everyone on the University of...
Wait, hold on a second. Mail's got a lot of gold in the hand of Pocket, but he's going to get a kill for himself, and another one going on the support as well. As the Riptide going to land onto the Ornn, and Mail absolutely legendary. What started out as a pick on the side of Washington State University is converted into 3 kills for 0 on the side of University of Washington. Now the Cloud Drake is spawning as well, but it looks like University of Washington not even setting their sights on it. They're going to continue to barrel down the mid lane and now make their rotation over. As Goperdo's alive, but I think he might be a bit too bold to try to look for this steal. Might just have to see this one and maybe look for another opportunity. Maybe setting up this rush here as the Cocoon is going to go wide, and Pasho diving straight in as the Flash of Darkest goes to find the Jhin with that Brood. The Dredgeline going to go wide, but that might not matter here as Pasho going to continue the chase. Misses the spear, but that is all right. University of Washington getting more than what they bargained for, was probably not even anticipating to find much more of a kill, but Washington State University gladly handing that over to the two of them, as well as this Cloud Dragon, as Goperdo maybe trying to position himself for the steal, but I doubt that is going to go very well for Washington State University, as he is finding himself nearly 4 levels down the opposing jungler, and Pasho even able to find himself another pick onto the opposing support, as now he's in the 1v1 with Marsaber. But you can see just how little damage he's able to do. Does force out the flash with that second ethereal chains, but Pasho is walking up to the base of his opponents and walking away from it with his life, and now almost every member of the University of Washington is sporting themselves a bounty, and Mail's got himself a 25 stack Magi Soul Stealer, as well as Zanya's Hourglass. Not only is he absolutely shredding every single member of the Washington State University, he's also got the Zanya's Hourglass, just in case they ever find themselves the opportunity to try to beat him. And now it is looking all but written for the side of University of Washington. It's just going to be a matter of closing this one out. And maybe, do you think there's anything that Washington State University can find themselves to overcome this 16 kill deficit and 11,000 gold lead at just 18 minutes into this game?
It's a 99% chance that University of Washington takes this, but what I can see happening is maybe the Ornpick and the Galio peeling for our AD carry and really defending. But
here's
it's going to be very hard.
Properto, and the culling not quite able to find the full damage as Tycoon. Well, as the Stand United is going to go on to support the shield, not even necessary, as Tycoon going down to the AD carry of the University of Washington. And now with Baron Nashor not even up, University of Washington is just going to have to settle for a Rift Herald take, it looks like, as their AD carry is going to go for that second tier top lane turret. Meanwhile, Washington State University, they're just going to continuing to try to scrap up whatever gold they can anywhere on the map. Even if it's their own camps, they've got to try to find something for themselves. But if there's anything that this Washington State University comp can get going, it's getting dived by Pasho on this Pantheon under their own turret. The Comet Spear nearly taking out Final Hour. He's going to find himself a Dark Harvest stack and now going to send out the Curtain Call as well, as Pasho going to get tagged by one, but he's got the Fancy Feed. He's able to dodge out on that fourth shot, but now three members of Washington State University making their way down here. Pasho has the Grand Starfall, but does he know what's going on? Maybe not just yet, as Mars Saber has the Corrupting Pot going. He's going to try to look for this kill for himself, but the Grand Starfall is going to go down, but the Ignite landed as well. I think that might just do it with the Corrupting Pot. Finally a shutdown going the way of Mars Saber on the LeBlanc. Fortunately, in the face of the disrespect from the University of Washington, he's able to get himself a kill, but that's still going to buy enough opportunities for the University of Washington to put down that second Rift Herald into the mid lane and just give themselves even more space to start up this Baron Nashor on spawn. And maybe this is the angle that Washington State University needs to get back into this game, but it looks like it's getting absolutely melted, and Washington State University completely clueless to this Baron Nashor being taken. And even if they are, I don't think they have any opportunity to get it started, as they killed that one in just 20 seconds. Hardly even, and now with 16 kills ahead and 12,000 gold lead at just 20 minutes in this game, University of Washington have armed themselves with that Baron Nashor buff, and they're looking to end this one quickly, I can imagine. No more messing around, and I think the only thing that could possibly get Washington State University back into this game is maybe some kind of combination of the Call of the Forge God and the Hero's Entrance landing onto as many members as possible. But even if that happens, there's just not a lot of team fighting power in this composition. Washington State University, they really needed to find themselves some picks between the Elise and the LeBlanc, but it just did not pan out in this early game. And now University of Washington going to be looking to take a victory lap as they're just taking their opponent's camps and starting to make their way over to the biggest minion wave available. That's going to be the top lane, and it looks like this coming fight is going to have to be the last stand of Washington State University as they're bringing the team over. Shen down there in the bot lane with that Baron buff, continuing to create pressure while making himself available with that Stand United, and it's going to have to be big from either Tygoon or Boodles, and hopefully both, if Washington State University wants to get themselves back into this game, as the Dreadline is going to find the jungler of Washington State University. But Mail is zoning so hard with how strong he is. 25 stack Magi Solar Stealer cannot be underestimated in this game. And now, fortunately for Washington State University, they are able to mount themselves a good enough wave clear, but not quite just yet, as this tower is going to be dropping eventually. Dreadline going to go wide onto Tygoon, but the health bars are looking pretty low, and the Culling is going to make sure of that as the Riptide goes on to Tygoon. The Hero's Entrance only able to find two with the knockup as the Dreadline doesn't connect yet again, but University of Washington, they don't care about not winning out in these fights. All they care about is that the fact that these inhibitors are dropping and that Mario Cool 4 is continuing to create pressure down there in the bot lane. And now the rest of these four members of the University of Washington are bearing down the Nexus turrets of Washington State University, but it looks like they're going to make their way down over to the bot. Saber is all by his lonesome, cut off from the rest of the team. He's going to try to get away from this one with the distortion, but University of Washington completely content with zoning him off as the Weaver's Wall going to find the LeBlanc, force the flash away from her as Mail chasing her down, going to try to pat that KD8 for himself. himself, and Marsaber looking like he doesn't stand a chance, even with that distortion. And now the Call of the Warcraft going to go down as Cool, able to almost dodge away from that one, going to go down in the face of Washington State University as the rest of the 3 members of University of Washington unscathed by that fight, as Boodle's going down as well. Final Hour going to drop that curtain call, but not going to do a lot of damage and forced to walk away from it, lest he get knocked down by the Talia. Male continuing to be an absolute menace in this game, and that's 2 inhibs dropped so far with this Baron buff. Is now, here's Washington State University looking for the play. A double knockup going to be beautiful to find the kill onto Male. That's the shutdown, as well as the Magi Soul Scaler stacks going down. And University of Washington, they might be letting things go out of their hands, but they are still so much stronger than their opponents. They're going to make sure that they know it. As Oswald dives right in with that relentless pursuit and gets himself a triple kill to avenge his jungler's death. And with the 3rd inhibitor going down, the Baron buff might have worn off, but University of Washington's tempo has not, as the teleport is going to make sure that minion stays alive. And it looks like University of Washington going to be able to finish this game off, and it's only Marsaber left in this game, and he's going to get locked up by every single effort on the side of University of Washington. An absolutely massive game for University of Washington, find themselves 15,000 gold ahead, 20 kills in just 24 minutes, and an absolute statement game to start this rivalry match off, suiriS.
Insanely well played from University of Washington there, with Male carrying on that Talia pick and really putting in the work of that Talia Pantheon combo, not letting Washington State University even have a chance. They took a lead and then they kept it. And it was a scary game for Washington State University. I don't know if they do picks like that again, it might be a very scary game for them again next time.
Yeah, they had a game plan going with their composition, looking to try to find something with that jungle mid combination. The Cocoon and the LeBlanc with her ethereal chains and how much mobility she has, hopefully able to find some kind of picks going on in the early game, but it really didn't pan out. Like you said, University of Washington just able to be on top of their rotations, especially with those global abilities, and really just running away with the game. As now we're going to be headed into the second draft for the next game. Hopefully Washington State University going to try to adapt to this one, as it seems like the game plan that they had going on in the first game not quite panning out. And for the first set of bans on the side of the University of Washington, it is going to be the Camille to lead things off. Once again, nothing too non-standard here. Just another power pick being picked off on the side of Washington State University, as well as the Olaf and Twisted Fate to follow. The Olaf, once again, like we've been talking about, a power pick that needs to go away if University of Washington wants to continue to win through the jungle like they've been doing. But on the side of the Washington State University, the adaptations are starting immediately in the ban phase, as all 3 of those global champions that University of Washington had used to such full effect in Game 1 are going to be taken away in that first ban phase.
They were completely scared of that Talia Pantheon combo, as they had so much pressure in the bot lane that they just took the game off of that. Like I said earlier in the game, where they had a winning fight, but then Talia Pantheon came in and turned it around, and they just took the lead there and ran with it. So trying to get rid of that before it happens this game.
Yep, the fact that they had such a winning bot lane already was only made worse by the fact that the full top side of the University of Washington was carrying global ultimates at their disposal, and even Mario Cool not even need to use that resource so much to help out his bot lane, but still able to outplay those ganks in the top side with such finesse. And it looks like the first pick for the University of Washington is going to be the Hecarim. This was banned out in Game 1, and I can imagine that Washington State University knows how deadly the jungler of the opposing team can be on this champion, and they're forced to let this one through, as the Talia and the Shen and the Pantheon and their global powers between the coordination of University of Washington just able to generate so much more threat than this power pick that they're forced to let through. But they're going to be able to respond with some power picks of their own in the form of the Kaisa and the Seraphine, 2 of the premier picks in their respective roles. Kaisa, one of the highest damage AD carries, and with so much mobility, making her a really self-sufficient pick. But she's not even going to need to be self-sufficient, as the Seraphine is going to be coupled with her. Can be flexed in the solo lanes, but I can imagine it's going to be going straight into the support role with the Seraphine. arming herself with that Moonstone Renewer. But on the other hand, it's going to be the Varus and the Jace locked in for University of Washington. This is a double poke combination that doesn't really seem in line with the game plan of Hecarim, which is to dive right into their opponents and really wreak some havoc into the backline. But maybe University of Washington has got something going on with the front-to-back composition. But in return, it's going to be the Lilia answer for Washington State University, able to keep pace with the Hecarim in the early game with how fast she can farm. And even if the Hecarim's able to get on top of her, she has a lot of utility between that sleep and the slows that she's able to put out. And if she's able to put out the Moonstone Renewer as well, this Kai'Sa is going to be an unkillable monster. And for the rest of the bans, it's going to be the Victor and Orianna trying to pinch out that mid lane pool for the University of Washington. And on their side, it's going to be Lucian and Malphite taken out. Malphite, I can imagine, could really throw a wrench into the spanners of this Varus Jace backline that they've got going for themselves, and going to want to take that one out. And Lucian, I can imagine, is just going to be a comfort ban for the mid laner of University of Washington. But to round off their draft, it's going to be the Bard and the Dr. Mundo locked in. Dr. Mundo, pretty interesting pick here. I can imagine he's going to be going into the top lane, but it's not something that we're too used to seeing. But if he can get some farm going for himself and able to get a lot of items, he can absolutely become an unkillable monster, especially if Washington State University doesn't have a tank-killing answer on their team. But they're going to finish their draft off with Galio and Gnar, and that the combination of those two ultimates is going to be able to generate a lot of crowd control, especially in conjunction with the Lilting Lullaby and the ultimate from Seraphine. If they're able to use those in conjunction, then their team fights are going to be looking a lot better than they were in game one. But the question, I think, is going to be whether they're able to get through the front line of the University of Washington, especially with the likes of Dr. Mundo entering the equation.
I think it's going to be a lot on the global pressure of this game with the Galio ulti and the moving of the Lilia. If they can get around the map and really get some kills down, I think Washington State has a really good chance with their team fight here.
Yep, and now we're going to be headed into the game with these drafts completed. Suddenly, it's Washington State University arming themselves with that global ultimate, but let's see if they're able to use it to similar effect as the University of Washington. Hopefully they've been able to learn from their past mistakes, and I think one of those mistakes was how many resources they diverted into trying to shut down Mario Cool 4, just not able to execute on those ganks and losing out so much in the bot side of the map because of it. Mario Cool 4 always able to outplay them and walk away with his life and wasting so much time of the opposing side. But suddenly the dynamic has changed, and Washington State University have a much more flexible game plan this time around. They have pick potential in the form of the things like the Galio and the Lilia, as well as the charm from the Seraphine, but they also have the team fighting power between all of their picks as well. And I think they're going to be able to fight on a lot more even footing with the University of Washington here, but it's always going to come down to which of these junglers is able to get things going in the early game. Earlier in game one, it was Washington State University who was able to find that pick in the bot lane thanks to Voperto, but they weren't able to generate a lot because of it. Meanwhile, Talia continuing to grow stronger as those botched ganks continue to go through. And now, once again, we've got ourselves a 5-point defense, and both junglers making sure their top side of the map isn't going to get invaded. And it's pretty interesting that both junglers are going to be opting to start in the bot side here. Hecarim and Lily are two junglers who really like to start on their red side, especially because of the Raptors, and Male's the only one who's going to be able to do it. Voperto looks like he wants to be able to match the Hecarim, and gonna hope that he has a faster clear time to find that level 4 when that Scuttle Crab starts, but they might adapt their pathing instead and look for an earlier play like they did in game 1. But for the moment, I think Mario Cool 4 going to find himself in a similar position to that top side in game 1, where Mundo not able to find himself a lot of space in that top lane in the face of the ranged matchup in the form of the Gnar. But I think once he's able to get himself some items and find himself some resistances to fight out that poke, it's going to be really hard for Tygoon to push him out, and they're going to have to call a lot of resources to stop this Mundo from becoming that unkillable late game monster that all those Mundo players aspire to be.
Yeah, they don't have too much tank killer besides the Kai'Sa on their team, and if they can get onto that Kai'Sa, it might be really scary for Washington State.
Now, here's something interesting. The Lilia going to full clear her bot side, but Male on this Hecarim is going to opt not to take out those Croaks, and what that's going to mean is that he's only going to be level 3 with those double buffs Meanwhile, Foperto, if he's able to clear at the appropriate speed, is going to be heading into that Scuttle Crab with level 4, and maybe if Mail has a healthier clear, then he's going to be able to win out in that fight. But with both junglers pathing towards the same side of the map, it's going to be looking like a fight over the top side Scuttle Crab. And in game 1, we had a similar situation where it was the University of Washington who ended up seeding away that Scuttle Crab, but maybe things are going to be looking different here as Lilia looking to finish off those Krugs. Meanwhile, it's Hecarim who's got himself an earlier clear, 3 minutes on that 5 camp. And Foperto, without a smite available for the Scuttle Crab, it's going to be an interesting dynamic here as Hecarim may be looking for a top gank here, is instead going to find the Lilia in the middle of her Raptors, knows exactly where the Lilia is, and now he's got the first move onto the Scuttle Crab. And he has the priority from his mid laner as well, and that's going to mean that Foperto, maybe not wanting to contest this, is going to head straight down to the bot side Scuttle Crab and just even things out at 1-1. But maybe with Hecarim having finished that one early, he's going to be looking to contest that bot side Scuttle Crab as well. Still has a lot of priority in the mid lane as Foperto sends out the Swirl Seed to try to help Marsaber get back onto the map. His bot lane fortunately able to find themselves enough priority to get into that river and escort their jungler for that Scuttle Crab. And things looking a lot quieter in the early game. We don't have that high tempo early ganking jungler in the form of the Elise. Both of these junglers really comfortable with just farming it out and just naturally becoming stronger as the game progresses, which raises the question, suiriS, where do you think the volatile lane in this game state is going to be?
I think it's going to come down to objectives like the Dragon where the teams come together for a fight. I don't think there's going to be much pressure from the ganks from the Lilia at the very least, but I think I might see some stuff from the Hecarim as he's coming up to the bot lane here.
Yep, hold on a second. The Bard able to find the slow onto the Seraphine. Boodle's going to get locked up for just a moment. His final hour looking down very low as well as the heal's forced out, but Mail just going to walk away from that one. Knows that the bot side of Washington State University has gotten a bit too close to their turn, and they're not going to overcommit there. Don't want to waste too much time, but they are able to draw down the Lilia and buy back a little bit of time. Not wasted too much as both junglers able to find themselves a little bit more opportunities to get their jungle clear, or their jungle timers back on track. But now with this huge wave crashing into the bot side, it looks like University of Washington are setting themselves up for this dragon take. Even with the Scuttle Crab going the way of Washington State University. But for the moment, it looks like even with that big wave, they're not going to commit to it quite just yet. They know that things could still get hairy at this stage of the game. They have gold to spend. It looks like they're going to continue just to clear out their camps, make sure their waves are in a good spot before they really commit to that neutral objective. And like you said, the lane states themselves not too volatile quite just yet. Neither of them have a lot of all-in potential, bar something really strange like a well-placed crowd control from either Darkest on this Bard or Boodles on the Seraphine. And that's going to mean that we're really going to be pivoting around how these junglers are able to play the neutral objectives. And it looks like for the moment, Foperto's got a bit higher tempo as he's able to clear the Krugs before Mail is able to start those Raptors. And maybe he's going to try to convert that into a dragon take, potentially. Nothing going on in the top side quite just yet, as Hecarim finally going to spend his goal, but Foperto, on the other hand, maybe looking for something down here in the mid lane. Marsaber has a lot of lockdown potential between that taunt and the Justice Punch, and he's going to look for it onto Pasho, but that Thundering Blow going to make sure that nothing too bad happens, and Foperto just being able to walk away from that one. Tries to shove in that mid wave to help out his mid laner, but he's leeching some XP for it. It is a price to pay to make sure that Marsaber has a good back timing here, and hopefully they're going to try to pay off for it when they start to make their way over to the dragon. And look at that, Boodle's able to stop the back timing of Darkest there. Able to get himself a little bit more tempo, but we're going to see whether Foperto just wants to continue to clear out his jungle or maybe really wants to make a play down here for the dragon, as Hecarim has the first move onto the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lilia just going to make her way down into the blue buff, and it looks like if Washington State University opt for that dragon take, it is going to be alerted to the side of the University of Washington. They know it, as they have the vision plan to spot out the opposing jungler. You can see Lilia opting for that Moonstone Renewer, not going for anything like a Liandry's, and I think that might be a mistake, even with how powerful that Moonstone Renewer Staff of Flowing Water build is, especially in this game with how many AP ratios there are available on this Washington State University composition. But if she does opt for that Moonstone build, then there isn't as much percent health damage to deal with Mario Cool 4 on this Mundo pick, and they're really going to have to rely all in on this Kaisa to do that damage to the front line of University of Washington. And For the moment, things once again looking quiet as Tycoon going to leap onto Mario Cool and able to stun, has the lockup with the Q as well, but misses the Gnar ultimate. Going to land one more house at his opponent, but flashes for the stun. Mario Cool 4 forced to flash away from that one, but the reset is not there for Tycoon, and now suddenly the tides have turned. Mario Cool 4 is continuing to gain health and continuing to gain the solo kill against Tycoon, who thought he had an opportunity with that Mega Gnar available, but botched just one last bit of his combo. And Mario Cool 4 using that ultimate to the fullest effect to get the most health out of it, as Boodle's going to root two members of the University of Washington, going to send that Lilting Lullaby onto the Bard, at least as Male is going in to try to delay Washington State University for just a moment, but Boperto's able to pick up that kill for himself, as now the Galio joining the fight with that teleport, has the home guards as well, but not able to find much more than that. Fortunately, Washington State University able to answer out that solo kill with a pick of their own in the bot lane, but they diverted a lot more resources than it took the University of Washington. Mario Cool 4 continuing to absolutely show his finesse in these top lane matchups, and now suddenly he's even looking even more CS ahead of the Gnar than he was before in this melee versus ranged matchup.
He was doing really well in that fight, Tygoon was, but then that flash into another flash really turned the tide in Mario Cool 4's favor, really securing that. And like you said, they did blow a lot for that Dragon and kill bot lane. The Galio TP, the Lilia ulti, and the exhaust out from the Kaisa. So we got to see if it's worth in the end.
Fortunately, are able to pick up that neutral objective, going to gain themselves a lot of stats thanks to that Mountain Dragon, but they're going to have to gain even a lot more, especially if Mario Cool 4 is continuing to exert himself in the top lane. And now I want to point out something here in the items is Varus picking up a Fiendish Codex for himself. Not going to be opting for an 80 carry mythic, because now the root is going to land onto Boodles as the Hail of Arrows going to land as well, but Guardian going to keep the support of Washington State University alive. You can see how annoying it is to deal with the Seraphine pick down in the bot lane, but like I was saying, Fiendish Codex getting picked up by Varus definitely has a lot of AP ratios to his name, but I'm interested to see what this is going to end up turning into. Is now he's picking up a Mana Crystal and an Amplifying Tome. That's cluing us in to what looks like a Leandri's Torment, even though he started out with that Doran's Blade as Boperto. Just going to find himself away from that Rift Herald take that is going on in the face of Male. Boperto's strong, but he's not stronger than the Hecarim, especially if Male is able to get on top of him. And he knows it, so he's just going to seed away that Rift Herald. And now, Washington State University, even though they got that Dragon, they are going to lose out in the Rift Herald, and it looks like it's going to be going down immediately in the mid lane. Hecarim pathing straight there to get some platings for his mid laner, and Varus is going to be opting for that Leandri's Torment. The Jace is going to have to be the real physical damage source for the University of Washington. But look at this, at just 10 minutes into the game, they were able to completely clear out first tier mid lane turret. That's going to open up so much space for the University of Washington, not only as far as neutral objectives go, but as far as taking away camps from Boperto on this Lilia. And now Boodles maybe getting slowed down by the Bard here, but he's able to get the charm down onto the Varus, who's going to get locked up for just a moment. His final hour going in with that killer instinct, going to take the opposing 80 carry back very low, but the rest of the team able to bodyguard their 80 carry for just a moment as Lilia trying to find that Lilting Lullaby opportunity, but Male able to pick up another one. As now the Lilting Lullaby go down, the 3 members going down very low, and a huge turnaround for the Lilia, with the Galio joining in as well. The slow's going to go down onto Mario Cool 4, teleport his way down into the bot lane, try to make something happen as Boperto tries to find the flash with that blooming blows to pick up one kill on the 80 carry, but isn't going to pan out. Fortunately, though, with that brilliant play from the Lilith, they are able to turn things around into a 3-for-3, it looks like. Well played, just holding the trigger on that Lilting Lullaby until he has the right opportunity for Marsaber to make his way over on the Galio and make sure that those kills are secured. But final hour kind of overreaching his bounds there as he immediately goes in on the Killer Instinct as soon as that charm lands, but without respect for where the rest of the members of University of Washington could be. But once again, things looking pretty even if the University of Washington finds themselves 4,000 gold ahead, and a lot of that owed to that mid lane turret take.
That was insanely well played from Washington State. Like, we saw their team fight composition really come out in that fight and allow them to get the kills they needed there to catch up in the slightest, even though they are still down in gold. That is really huge for their comeback.
And what was more huge was that they were able to pull the teleport from Mario Cool. get Tygoon a little bit of breathing room, even if he is still down 20 CS in this top lane matchup. Speaking of 20 CS down, Pasho continuing to be the lane bully that Jace is, especially in the face of Galio, who usually wants to find himself against a magic damage opponent, but not going to get it quite this time, as Jace finding himself even more CS advantage, is going to take himself nearly to 30 CS in this mid lane matchup, but Galio's job isn't in this game isn't going to be to try to wrestle away mid lane priority. It's going to be like what happened in the bot lane, making sure that they can secure those team fight victories between the hero's entrance and that taunt of his. And I think in the face of that team fighting power, this Varus who's going for that Liandry's Torment is going to be a pretty interesting factor. I imagine he's maxing something like that Hail of Arrows or that Blighted Quiver to try to get a lot of percent health going against the tankiness in the face of Tygoon and Mars Saber, but it is interesting because of the Galio pick, and I wonder if University of Washington is just trying to flex their stuff a bit here, trying to let the audience know that this is something that they have under their belt, or if they really feel like this is something optimal here. How do you feel about the AP Varus pick?
They have AD on everyone else on the team, so I think it might just be a flex. So like building the AP so they don't have a full AD comp to where the Gnar or the Galio can build AD or armor and really shut down their damage.
Yep, hold on a second, Tygoon. Maybe trying to get revenge in that all-in here, but able to pop that Masochism and gonna gain a lot of his health back. Tygoon trying to fight on this 1v1, but it looks like he's realizing once again that he does not win out here, as Marco 4 going to try to flash into turret range to finish this kill off, but now Tygoon is the one who has the tables turned on him, as he's able to pick off that third hit on the passive and get the kill into the top lane. Now he's the one with the solo kills, another kill from the Hecarim going to be secured for the Jace in the mid lane. Tygoon fortunately turning things around in the top lane, even with that item deficit, good for him, and now Mail in the mid lane, though, even with that top lane solo kill, unfortunately going awry, is able to pick up a dragon for the side of the University of Washington, unless Wazoo has something to say about it. Boperto's making his way into the river, but he doesn't have his team with him quite just yet. The bot lane is cut off for the moment, and now they're stunned up as Boodle's able to land a 3-man charm, and the Drowsy's going to go down, as well as the Tempered Fate is going to land onto the Lilia. Keep her stunned up for just a little bit, as now Boperto on the retreat, as the rest of the University of Washington able to completely turn around that bot lane fight. The bot lane of Wazoo just cut off from their jungler there, who really has a lot of the power of the competition, especially with that Moonstone Renewer. Wasn't able to keep his bot lane alive lest he run into these big beefy members of University of Washington, especially Mail there, and it's gonna cost them not only the dragon but 2 lives of their bot laners. And suddenly University of Washington really turning things around in this early game. They aren't running away with it as much as they were in game 1, but they still have themselves a 3,000 gold advantage that I imagine is only going to get bigger, especially if they decide to opt for the second Rift Herald.
We also saw the Galio TP in there really late, though, and get nothing off of it. So that's going to hurt Washington State a lot in the late game, where they have they need the TP pressure for those team fights.
This is quite interesting that the Galio is actually opting for Sorcerer's Shoes, not going for defensive boots. It looks like he really wants to hone in on the squishier members of the side of the University of Washington, and for the moment, only the Mercury's treads on the side of Hecarim and Jace. I can imagine Galio not trying to do too much damage to the likes of the Dr. Mundo, but if you can find something like Varus, then maybe that's where that item buy really starts to pay off. But now it's going to be the Liandry's Torment completed for the Varus, and a dagger as well. Maybe turning into a Gnasher's Tooth, I can imagine, as Boperto going to spot out Mail on this second Rift Herald with that Swirl Seed. But Darkest is there with the rotation, and Oshawott moving up as well for this neutral objective. The rotations are good on the side of University of Washington. Pasho in the bot lane to keep Wazoo at bay down there. Make sure that they don't too much by the way of turrets. And once again, an uncontested Rift Herald going the way of the University of Washington. It's not a dragon, and it's not going to get them very many platings, but with that mid lane tier 1 turret already going down, maybe it's going to open up the game even more than it already has on the side of the University of Washington. As looks like in the top lane, Tygoon and Lilia may be looking to make a play here, but looks like once again, it's looking similar to game 1, where they aren't able to get off the ground, and they have a lot less tools to really force these opportunities than they did in game 1 between the LeBlanc and the Elise. Now they've really got to wait for University of Washington to overreach so they can try to find something with the Galio and with the Seraphine. But now Final Hour and Budos are making their move on Charm is going to land. The CC layer is good. The Flash is forced out as well, but the Taper of Fate going to land onto Boodles. And now Final Hour once again going way too far with the Killer Instinct. He's going to get found out by Mail. And now Boodles under his turret is going to get hit by the onslaught of Shadows and 4 members of the University of Washington. It seems like they are always on top of these rotations. Washington State University, even if they can find a nice team fight here and there, they just cannot find the pick opportunities that they really need to find themselves the incremental gold advantages. And now 4 members of University of Washington are going to pick themselves up this bot lane turret, and they have the Rift Herald at their disposal. Maybe they can go all the way with this resource, as they have a wave here, but Pasha's going to back for now, and it looks like the rest of University of Washington going to follow suit, but not before taking away some camps from Voperto. Meaning Mail is going to continue to get even further ahead, even though Voperto's got 3 kills to his name. And Final Hour and Boodles, they were eager to make something happen, but once again, just like before, it really went wrong there.
I see them, they look like they're rushing to fight every time without knowing where University of Washington is, and they're getting caught out for that and punished. And well done from the University of Washington by playing around the vision to then punish the spot lane.
The wards from Washington State University, they're largely around the same proximity as the bot lane, meaning that by the time that they realize University of Washington is on the rotation, it's already too late. They really need to get some deeper vision into the jungle if they want to make plays like that happen, where they're just going straight into University of Washington, trying to find a single window where they're really gambling that the rest of UW isn't there to jump on them. And for the moment, it's really not panning out, and maybe their hope is in these team fights where it has been in the past. And Roberto still looking pretty strong with that Moonstone Renewer completed, only about 16 CS behind his opponent, who's got himself a big bounty on his side. And if they're able to pick up some of those bounties on the side of University of Washington, between the Hecarim and the Jace, who don't have too many resistances available to them, maybe that's what they need to get back into this game. But for the moment, University of Washington, still with that Rift Herald at their disposal, are going to make their way up to the top lane, and so are Washington State University. We might have ourselves a fight on our hands here. The Dragon's still not spawning for about a minute, but Washington State University pulling a lot of their resources up to the top lane. 5 members here just chilling in the jungle as Pasho continues to find himself CS down there in the bot lane. Now Washington State University, they're late on these rotations, forced to answer that bot wave just a bit too late, and this is where the University of Washington is really making their money. It's just in these small rotations. That's where they're really going to find these incremental gold advantages that are going to mean they have the advantage in these team fights. And now with the Rift Herald going down in the mid lane, it's not quite going to get the full turret just yet, as Oshawott on this AP bar is going to go down very low to heal. Juggling that turret out for just a little bit too long, but not in vain, as they are able to pick up that second tier mid lane turret, and Mail immediately starting up that Cloud Dragon for themselves, as Washington State University, after losing that mid lane turret, are really looking to fight here despite being 5,000 gold down. But with Dragon going down, I don't think for their sake they want to take this. But with Tygoon having the Mega available, maybe they feel like this is their last window to really make something happen, but Jace with those shock blasts is going to dissuade them from going any further. And once again, Washington State University are continuing to lose just on the map, thanks to that heads-up team play from the University of Washington.
Their vision in this game has been amazing from the University of Washington. They've been able to see where all the WSU players are and make plays around that, such as that mid play there. They were Wazoo was way too afraid to not take a fight there. They knew the Jace was bot lane, and it was a 5v4. They should have taken it, but they were too afraid.
Yep, and they're really going to have to work up the courage, at least to try to find some kind of lopsided fight for themselves, because if things keep going the way they are, then University of Washington is going to continue to keep moving as a unit, and when it's a straight-on 5v5, just by virtue of the gold advantage, University of Washington is going to be slapping their opponents with their wallets, and just going to win out just with how much gold they have. And that's going to mean that if Wazoo wants to get back into this game, they're going to have to make something sneaky happen. And to do that, they really need to set up the vision. Maybe try to find a flank onto their opponents when they overreach a bit too far. But for the moment, like you say, University of Washington playing this vision game so perfectly and finding themselves this opportunity, maybe even to start the Baron Nashor. Last time it was taken on Spawn, and Washington State University at least doing a little bit better this time around in that respect. But University of Washington have so much moxie, just walking into the jungle of their opponents and taking things away. And here's the opportunity, it looks like, as Boperto's going to land the Swirl Seed onto his opponent, but not going to pull the trigger on that Lilting Lullaby. Knows that the rest of University of Washington is right there in their jungle, as now the turret is going to get locked up by the Tempered Fate, as Mail is joining the battle with that charge, and now he's not even going to need to use the Onslaught of Shadows to finish off the Lily, as Tycoon able to walk away from that one with his life. But the strongest member of the University of Washington State University for the moment going down, as now a 3-man charm from Washington State University is going to find the kill onto Oshawott. His final hour going in with that killer instinct. Mario Cool 4 is being on the chase, is now Exhaust going to go onto him as well. Talk going to lock him up for just a little bit of a moment. Now Nar going to lock him up with that ultimate as well. Washington State University answering back with a couple kills of their own, a 2-for-1 in that top lane fight, where things looked so good for the University of Washington. And even though they did end up losing the Lilia there, Washington State University absolutely ecstatic to be able to find themselves an advantageous trade in that fight. And now maybe University of Washington looking to answer back, as Tydoon is going to get that thunder blow, and now Mail is in the back line. He is absolutely unkillable here. He's going to dive straight onto the AD carry, and now he's going to leap into that vision to try to keep himself alive. But finally, Tygoon able to find that kill for himself, as Pasha is going on to Boodles, able to find the support and use that invisibility, try to dodge out onto the Galio, and now he's going to go on to Tygoon as well, but he bit off a bit more than he could chew. Wasn't quite able to get away from that one with his life and tried to commit to that kill, but fortunately for Washington State University, looking pretty even in that fight, and when you're behind, even is definitely advantageous, as now Tygoon is looking 4-1-4 on this Gnar pick, where he had gotten solo kill just a few minutes earlier.
That was really what Wazoo needs. They're that team fight comp. They're going to need to take those fights every time they can, unless they're just going to let University of Washington dictate the tempo, and they really can't have that. They need to take those fights every time they can.
Yeah, man. Tygoon now opting for the second item, Thornmail, to try to eliminate Mail and Pasha's contributions to these team fights, and that's where Oshawott's build here is really going to start to shine. He's got that Leontri's Torment complete and working his way over to that Nashor's Tooth. Has the Oblivion Orb as well to try to create a little bit more utility for his team. Might be a bit of a unnecessary buy, as he does have the Grievous Wounds on the Hail of Arrows, but for the moment it is a rather cost-efficient purchase, and not too much issue there. But like you said, Washington State University is going to be all about these team fights, no matter how even they're looking. They're going to have to take it wherever they can, because they know that where they're able to generate more value than the University of Washington is in these multi-man ultimates between Boodles on the Seraphine, Mars Saber with that Hero's Entrance, and Boperto with that Lilting Lullaby. If they can hit multiple members of University of Washington with those abilities, maybe they're going to be able to turn these fights around, as now the picks are going on to the Baron Nashor. This time around, Washington State University is clued off to it, and the Baron isn't going down as fast as it normally would. Maybe Washington State University able to make their way over. As you can see the vision of University of Washington, they don't quite know just yet that 3 members of Washington State University are going to try to make their way over to the Baron Pit here. But Boperto, does he have the flash to try to make this steal happen? It's going down very low, 3,000 health going in. Lilia's going to have to make her move right now. The Charm is going on as well, as Mars Saber makes his way into the pit. It's going to be secured by Mail on the Hecarim, and now the fight is going on as Boodles, who uses the Charm already, as the Hero's Entrance is going to land at least onto one member of the University of Washington. Mail is going to pick up the first kill onto the AD carry of Washington State University. But the health bars are looking very low all across the board. The rest of the University of Washington forced to retreat and leave Mario Cool 4 all to his lonesome. Maybe looking for the re-engage here, but once again, their health bars are looking so low. This might have been a mistake here, but Washington State University, it looks like they can't get much more than that. Look how low the health bars are on the side of University of Washington. If they had overstepped just a little bit more, that might have been Washington State University's ticket back into this game. But for the moment, going to be 2-for-1 in favor of Washington State University. They're going to be able to pick up the Cloud Dragon, R3 Baron Nashor buffs on the side of Washington, of the University of Washington. But I think, as it stands, this teamfight formula is really working for Washington State University. But the question is, are they going to be able to keep it up in the face of something as devastating as a Baron buff bearing down their turrets? Looks like this Dragon is going to go uncontested unless the Shock Blast has anything to say about it. Piercing Arrow tries to go out as well, but fortunately secured by the Smite of Boperto. And now, even though Washington State University, they aren't quite crossing the gold lead. It's been at 5,000 for quite some time now, but it should be a big statement that they haven't let it gone any lower. And if they can keep it at that and try to keep looking for those lopsided advantages in those team fights, maybe just maybe they can try to stall out for something like a Dragon Soul or even that Elder Dragon if it comes to it, and maybe that's the win condition that they need to really win out handedly in these team fights.
That Cloud Soul would be really massive on the side of Wazoo, seeing as most of their team fight comes from their ulti, and that move speed is going to be helpful, and that CDR too.
Yep, and even though this comp pivots largely around the power final hour as he's being buffed up by this double Moonstone composition, he's really looking quite stunted as far as his items go. Only has the Kraken Slayer and the Collector to his name just 27 minutes into this game, and even though Oshawott on the opposing AD carry side doesn't have very much either, even missing that second legendary item that Final Hour has, he's looking to create some utility for his team. Not quite the same role that Final Hour has. He's really going to be letting Hecarim and Pasho run the show, and Mario Cool 4 as well, once he really starts to get those items going. And Final Hour, he's going to have to get a lot more CS, and he quite has it. Is now Tycoon going to look at that solo kill once again, but it might not be much of a solo kill. So way down here is the Squirrel Seed, not quite going to connect, but there's a lot of movement speed from Mario Cool 4, who has the Mercury's Treads as well, and Boperto trying to look for something, but without that Squirrel Seed land, he isn't able to get it, and Mario Cool 4 completely unscathed. It's going to gain all his health back with that ultimate, and now the rest of the University of Washington, having drawn a lot of the resources of Washington State University down into the bot lane, they're able to get a top lane turtle Baron buff, and might be looking to get a lot more as Final Hour using those items, has that Kraken Slayer and the Collector. It might not be much, but it is still a lot, especially with a 40 CS advantage over his opponent. He's able at least to get the Hecarim down to half his health, but he's going to need to get a lot more as the stun's going to land onto the Lilia, but not much gain from it. University of Washington continuing just to use that Baron buff to bear down those turrets and create some more space for whatever neutral objective spawns next. In Washington State University, nothing is changing so far. Even though they're able to win out in some team fights, they are getting really worked around by the rotations of the University of Washington, especially by virtue of just how much stronger the solo laners are. Even though Tygoon on this Gnar is 5-1-5, and his opponent Mario Cool 4 1-3, Mario Cool 4 able to not only create pressure on those turrets, but turn around the ganks wherever they happen, and it's really throwing a wrench into the plans of Washington State University, and it's going to mean that they are losing turrets around the map. But finally, the Baron buff is going to wear off, and both teams just going to look to find a little bit more gold as they prepare for the next neutral objective fight.
Wazoo now has some breathing room to set up for the next objective and get some vision down. University of Washington definitely taking the scorched earth path of trying to take every jungle camp that they can on the way out, trying to starve Wazoo from as much gold as they possibly can, trying to turn those team fights around. And let's see how beneficiary that is going to be for them, and the vision score is going to be for Wazoo side.
And it's pretty interesting, I think, that Male has opted for the Spirit Visage, especially since he neither has the Divine Sun, the two main healing components of the Hecarim. He does have the Sterix Gauge, but I wonder whether the Spirit Visage is the pick here, especially considering that the composition of Washington State University, the damage is largely coming from the Kaisa and the Gnar for the moment, even though he is building for that tank optimization. Boperto and Marsaber, even though they have a lot of magic damage to their name, they're largely here for the utility of their abilities. That Lilting Lullaby and the all the utility across the board of the Galio pick. But with the dragon spawning in just a minute, the Baron Nashor is going to be as well. And both teams are tied up at 2-2 dragons, which is going to mean that the Baron Nashor is going to take precedence here. It's going to come down to which team is able to play the dance better, able to psych out the other team into committing to the dragon and making their way over to the Baron Nashor instead, or taking the dragon so quickly that the other team doesn't have enough time to go for that Baron Nashor, and then suddenly fighting on a head footing when it comes to that objective in the top side. And I think when it comes to those neutral objectives, this is what Wazoo's been itching for. They've been farming it up safely for the past few minutes here, just trying to bide their time and continue to get stronger so they can make themselves as strong as they can possibly be for the coming team fight. And it's really going to have to pay off here. The dragon is going to be spawning in just a moment alongside that Baron Nashor, and it looks like University of Washington are the posturing for the Baron. And they're going to force Washington State University to answer in turn as they're making their way up to the Baron through the mid lane. If the Brood is going to land onto the Gal, Boodles is going to find himself in a lot of trouble as the Killer Instinct is coming through to try to keep the support alive. A great flash is going to keep him alive for just a moment as Marsaber is going to go down in the face of the rest of the University of Washington. Now, the Tempered Fate going to find Final Hour with a stun, and now Mail is on the charge with that devastating charge, and now he's in the backline as well. Boodles going to go down very low, but it doesn't even matter if he goes down because Final Hour is going to go down as well. The AD carry of Washington State University is going to drop. That's a lot of damage down, and Tygoon is the only one left along with the Seraphine. He has a lot of health left, but who's going to do the damage for him? He's able to pick up the kill onto the Hecarim, but at what cost? Both smites down for each team, and University of Washington winning out big in that team fight, able to catch out 2 key members of Washington State University before the rest of them were able to go down. And we said that Washington State University is looking for their team fights, but University of Washington doing such a good job isolating Marsaber in Final Hour from the rest of their team, along with Boodles as well. And when Washington State University isn't able to coordinate their ultimates like that, things absolutely fall apart, and you saw it there. University of Washington not going to find the Baron Nashor, don't have enough resources to commit to it quite just yet, but they are going to get themselves one dragon closer to that Dragon Soul. That's going to mean that the next Baron Nashor is going to be on equal priority as the Dragon. That's going to make things so much harder for Washington State University, who already has such a hard time getting run around by the rotations of the opposing team.
Washington State had a well-oiled machine with their team fight battles, but University of Washington was able to pull out one of those cogs by picking Marsaber and taking out a lot of the CC that comes with that Galio and a little bit of that damage. So they pulled a cog and the machine fell apart from there, and they were able to steamroll into the backline and really do some damage.
University of Washington really identifying how their opposing team wants to play fights out and making sure that they can't let it happen, knowing that they have the resources to make it or to dictate the fight how they so please, as long as they don't walk into the clutches of Washington State University. And now they're about 8,000 gold ahead, very angrily posturing for this Baron Nashor. Not going to commit to it quite just yet, but they're wrestling away so much of the vision of Washington State University, who are forced back into the back or the furthest reaches of their jungle, cannot walk into their own jungle even, as there's so much vision on the side of University of Washington, even the opposing territories. The Mon Plan is going to be taken away by Kes. 8,000 gold advantage is going to mean that this Baron Nashor is going to be started at 33 minutes into this game. They want this one to end quickly, as the root is going to land onto the Gnar. That's key member right there, but he has the Mega Gnar available. He's going to get pretty tanky here as the Onslaught of Shadow is going to try to find Final Hour here, but Mail might have bit off a bit what they can choose. The Sun is going to find him into the wall. Final Hour cutting out so beautifully. Now the Hecarim, who's so pivotal to the University of Washington team, is going to go down. Marsaber as well going able to pick up the support of the opposing team, but Budo's going to go down in return. His Final Hour kiting out beautifully in the face of the Dr. Mundo as Pasha trying
and he's dead!
He's going to get sniped away by the piercing arrow, and Mundo goes where he pleases for just a little bit longer. He's able to go down eventually, but Typhoon is godlike, and Washington State University completely turning around the team fight. Thanks to an overreach from Mail, they're able to pick up the ace with just 2 members of their bot lane going down, and now they are bearing down the mid lane. They're not going to go for the Baron Nashor. They're going to try to pick up an inhibitor or something like that, make it a little bit easier for this neutral objective to happen. In University of Washington, where it looked like they had Washington State University's number, are really losing it here in these team fights.
We've been seeing this Kaisa pop off in damage during these fights, and they obviously went for her and they finally got her, but they really ignored the Marsaber Galio and the Varpedo, I'm blanking on the name, Lilia, and they were able to do damage with them and really turn around that fight.
Yep, it was really a different story when Mail was the one who was isolated. He went for the backline there, and like in previous fights, he thought he could just go straight for the AD carry, but Tygoon joining Final Hour to bolster that backline meant that he was able to find the stun, and with Final Hour's beautiful kiting around both the Hecarim and the Dr. Mundo, he was able to stay alive for so long in that fight and finally be that consistent damage source that Washington State University has been longing for. And now suddenly the tides are really turning around for them, even though they're still 6,000 gold behind. Now University of Washington really has to watch out here, as the root is going to land onto Mail. Going to take a lot of poke over that Baron pit, as Washington State University is stalling for quite some time here, but I don't know if it's in their best interest to be stalling. As long as they keep waiting, it is going to buy more time for University of Washington to wait for that pin of the Dragon Soul spawning alongside that Baron Nashor, and it's going to mean that Washington State University is only going to be able to answer one of them. They're going to have to either take that huge gold and stat advantage in the form of the Baron Nashor, or that permanent buff in the form of the Cloud Soul. And University of Washington, even though they did fumble that team fight just a little bit, they're going to be unfazed as Mario Cool 4 continuing to soak up that solo experience in the bot lane. knows that Tygoon, even as strong as he is, 7-1 in 9 in this game, completely turning things around on his opponent, is able to match him. As the rest of the University of Washington just continuing the dance around this top side, biding their time for the Dragon Soul to spawn and try to make this pin happen, as Boperto continuing to check if this Baron Nashor is being taken, but it's just a game of chicken. And neither team gaining too much on the other sides of the map, as Tygoon matching the other split pusher. That's all they can muster so far, as the item completions are starting to come down all across the board. Hecarim is looking all but completed with that Kenpung Chainsword completed for himself. Going to mitigate a lot of the healing from the double Moonstone Renewer builds on the side of Washington State University, as well as Varus finally completing the Rabadon's Death Cap, an absolutely massive purchase if he can make it that far. And now he's got it. Even though he's still 40 CS down his opponent, that's all that he needs. His build is looking practically finished as well. Both AD carries at 3 item completions are going to mean that both teams, foregoing the Baron, are going to make their way straight down to the Dragon Soul. It's going to be do or die here. It's going to be really difficult for either team to come back once that permanent buff goes in the hands of either team, and I think both of them are well poised to do it. We've seen how well, just by individual mechanics, they're able to play these team fights. And it's going to come down who's going to have the execution this time around, as Boodle goes down pretty low, but that's the power of the Moonstone Renewer build right there, as the health bar is going to continue to go right back up, especially if Boperto is able to get some more poke. But speaking of poke, Jace with those shock blasts, getting a lot of damage done on the side there, as Joshua going to flash in for that stun, but he's going to get rooted up at the charm, and now Lost Saber's in the back. He assassinated the AD carry of the opponent, so the AD carry WSU down as well, as Male's joining the backline and he's finishing off the rest of the team. Tygoon is all by himself, as Boperto and Marsaber can't find their way into this fight. 3v3 in the jungle so far, as the stun is going to land onto the Leia. Mario Kupo is full HP. No one can stop the Mundo from going where he pleases now, as Boperto going to stall a little bit of time just for the moment, as Mundo is continuing to run over the rest of his team. Stopwatches across the board, but only Gnar is able to walk away from this one with his life, and that's going to be a big team fight win. 1 for 4 for the University of Washington. Only Oshawott flashing in with those chains of corruption going to drop, and his sacrifice is going to be worth it as they're able to pick up not only the Cloud Soul, but head straight for that Baron Nashor. And if this isn't going to go close out the game for the University of Washington, I don't know what will.
Insanely well played by the University of Washington bot lane, with Oshawott flashing in with that ulti like you said, and then backing it up with that Bard ulti, catching off that backline and being able to shut him down with the Hecarim ulti and just deleting the Kaisa. Amazingly well played by them, and that's going to help them to dictate the pace of the rest of the match.
Yeah, University of Washington adapting so well to the tides of these team fights. First, they knew that Washington State University was trying to find these big clumpy team fights where they could get a lot of value out of their ultimates. Then it was Washington State University's ability to separate the team fights that was getting their advantages, but finally they were able to take advantage of Wazoo's original game plan by catching them when they were clumped up and finding a big tempered fate that really allowed Male to get into the backline alongside the rest of his team, not being cut off from them, and really turning things around in this game. And suddenly with Cloud Soul and the Baron Nashor buff, 9,000 gold ahead of their opponents, the team fight dream for Washington State University is looking really dire here. And maybe there's something they can try to make happen if they catch University of Washington off guard with their vision, but they've been on top of it all game and continuing to be, as they're just going to play this one really low and slow, not bearing down the waves quite just yet, making sure that they're going to assemble a simultaneous push across all 3 lanes, as Mario Cool 4 bringing up the top lane with the Baron buff, and the Jace in the bot lane. Pasho going to bring the bot wave as well, and going to force Washington State University to have to answer all 3 lanes at once, and where even one of those lanes is requiring 5-man resources to answer, and that's really going to put Washington State University in a very difficult position unless they can do something to try to stop what's about to happen with this Baron Nashor buff.
Their Wazoo's 5v5 is really strong, but their 1v1 is very weak. So if University of Washington can split up the team and keep the pressure going, it's going to be very scary for the Cougars.
Yep, and for the moment, they are able to stop the push for just a little bit, have enough wave clear, at least in the bot lane, as Mario Cool 4 taking a little bit more time than he wanted to bring the top wave over. But Oshawott able to find a random pick in the bot lane onto Boperto. himself. I guess that's the power of the burst of the AP bars, but suddenly things are looking absolutely dire for the Washington State University, and Tygoon knows that he's trying to make a play happen for himself, looking for a solo kill in the top lane, but how can you solo kill this unkillable monster in the form of the Dr. Mundo, especially with only the heal reduction in the form of the Thorn Mails, the rest of the University of Washington bearing down the bot lane with this Baron Nashor. They have the cannon minion, they have 4 members, and they're looking for these Nexus turrets. They want to finish this game off fast, and Pasho knows that one Nexus turret going to get locked up by the Tempered Fate as the rest of the team forced into their own fountain. Mail going down pretty low, but the Seraphine whiffs. That's a huge team fight tool going down that they're not going to have available when they try to mount this last base defense. It's 4 members of Washington State University just trying to buy time for their lady to make it back, but the University of Washington, they're just waiting for their waves to make it. They're going to try to make this fight as lopsided as possible. Roberto is up, but it's going to take a huge lilting lullaby if they want to get back into this game, and we know that Oshawa is how he's able to solo kill the opposing jungler, what he can do, especially in a team fight scenario. If he's able to find some of those stacks. But Tygoon maybe trying to go in here, but he's going to get rooted and take a lot of damage from that hail of arrows. Pops the Sterak's Gate, yet another big cooldown going down on the side of Washington State University. And they're trying to force a team fight here. They're trying to go down into the bot lane as the Swirl Seed lands onto Mail, but they can't find anything as the movement speed on the side of University of Washington is just so much. They're able to kind of so beautifully buy space for Mario Pool 4 to go in the top side as Sleep is only going to find 1 member. Mail is going to get exhausted.
Diving in the background.
Find a 2-man fear is going to send the rest of the team into his own. Is now Marsaber going to try to find that hero's entrance. Locks up 2 with the taunt, and Mail going to go down very low, but Mario Pool 4 is absolutely tearing apart the backside. But Perito going to go down in the rest of the fight, and Mario Pool 4 walks straight into 4 people and walks away with his life as well as the rest of Washington. No one's dying here quite just yet unless Tygoon goes in with that Gnar ultimate. Mario Pool 4, he is an unkillable monster in this series as he completely zones out the backline of Washington State University all by himself, but it isn't enough as it only turns into a 1-for-1 for the University of Washington. It is 43 minutes into this game, and Washington State University are doing so well to keep themselves in this game.
That trade was definitely University of Washington's favor. They got 3 inhibs off of it and only traded 1 kill for 1 death. That is something they should take every time, and one of the Nexus towers is almost dead. So they have supers in every wave, and it might be curtain call for Wazoo here.
Wazoo, even though they didn't lose the Nexus there, they're still in an awful position, even with just 2 Nexus turrets standing. 3 inhibitors down is going to mean that the Elder Dragon is going to be so much harder to contest, and it's going to be spawning in just a minute here. If University of Washington is able to pick this one up for themselves, it is absolutely going to be lights out for Washington State University. All those low health bars in the backline of their team are going to be evaporated by that aspect of the dragon. They execute 25% of the opponent's max health. If that's not going to finish up a game, then the University of Washington has got to go back to the drawing board, I imagine, as Marsaber now has a Rabadon's death cap to his name. Almost never see the Galio get this far in his build, but here it is, and all across the board, the item completions are just coming in. 6 items everywhere, as Hecarim kicking up a full Ravenous Hydra off that extended push, and now Tygoon all by himself in the mid lane is going to get found out by the devastating charge, but final hour is here. He's going to get annihilated by Pasho, but he's going to annihilate him in turn, as now Mars with that hero. That's a pick on the side of University of Washington State University, but Mario Pool 4 is going where he pleases in the top side. He's going to get locked up by the Lilting Lullaby in just a moment here, but he's able to find some damage onto the Nexus turrets. Do Tygoon and Boperto have the damage to take out the top laner of the University of Washington as the rest of the team is going to join here? But it's looking bad for them because as they're wasting so much time on the Mundo, whose health bar is not dropping, the Elder Dragon is going down and they have no chance to stop it from happening. Washington State University is now staring down 4 Elder Dragon buffs, and Mario Pool 4 knows how devastating his tank stats are in this game. You don't need to do damage to win in the game of League of Legends, folks. You can stand right there and take Tygoon's full combo and smile right in his face as he waits for his ultimate to come back up. That huge health steroid going to mean that this Mundo is looking absolutely unkillable, even with the combined efforts of all of Washington State University. Now they have only 1 Nexus turret left. It's Temper Fate's going to find that last one. Tygoon forced to flash away, but he's going to go down to the Bard. The rest of the team forced to fight inside their fountain, but final hours are able to pick up a kill on Mail, even in the face of the Elder Dragon. Now they're looking for something here. Is Marsaber going to try to find the taunt onto Oshawa? Is the Lilting Lullaby going to land onto 1? He's going to get locked up by the Kaiser. That's a shutdown going their way, and Mario Pool 4 going down as well. What happened to the Elder Dragon? What happened to the Elder Dragon? 3 kills for 1. Washington State University completely turning around the team that looks so direly lost for them. Final hour completely coming online here in this late game, and he's finding so many kills in conjunction with Voperto and Marsaber with their crowd control. University of Washington, they've had so many opportunities to try and win out in this game, but it is 46 minutes now, and they have not done it yet. Washington State University are continuing to hold on at every last stand.
We saw University of Washington reach their full build at least 5-10 minutes ago, while we see Wazoo still scaling, and we see the Kaisa, who's kind of been out of this game for most of the time, now full build with 400 CS. They stalled enough time to where she could come online and definitely maybe turn the game in their favor.
This is absolutely the consequence of letting the game go this long, but a 3-man temper.
No one there to back it up.
Jace is going to make his way down into the Nexus. It's only Galio defending. University of Washington is going to have to stop these backs as Pasho bearing down on the Nexus, but he knows that the Baron recalls have gone through, and he can't stop this all by his lonesome, especially in the face of a death cap. Galio is going to go in with this taunt, has the Protobelt movement speed, and Tygoon's going to join the battle as well, but not quite able to find that boomerang. And Washington State University, again, keeping themselves alive. As Brutal's trying to keep the Bard away from him, but the Elder Dragon is that 2 out of 2 Elder Dragon executions for the side of the University of Washington. This Bard is finding some damage for himself as well, and now Washington State University once again at a man deficit, and a stun going to go down onto the Lilia. Here's Mail in the front line going down very low. Tygoon almost trying to find that stuff. Here's the Lilting Lullaby on the front line as his final hour going to face off with Mario Cool 4 as the 2v2 is going down in this red side. No kills going on in the top side. Final hour gets soloed out by the Dr. Mundo. The Sunfire Cape is all it takes to finish off the AD carry, and they don't even need the Elder Dragon. That's all they had to do was find that one damage threat on the side of Washington State University, but both the bot laners down on the opposing team. University of Washington is done playing around. They want to finish this game off fast, and they're going to do it with a devastating charge. The Onslaught of Shadow is going to try to find Voperto. Use that stopwatch to keep himself alive for just a moment, as the Galleys are trying to stall for his jungler to get back into the mountain, but they are going to be forced to go down as well. Marsaber, all by his lonesome, is going to be the last one defending the Nexus. Voperto forced back into the fountain. Finally, the Jays patting out that kitty, and finally, after 48 minutes, University of Washington finally able to find themselves a 2-0 victory over the Washington State University.
Amazingly well played by the University of Washington, especially in those late game team fights that they should have lost, but they were able to catch out those carries very easily with that Bard and that Hecarim.
Yeah, and I mean, there was so much going on in that game, so many different heroes on both sides of the map, but I think when it comes to that MVP, suiriS, who do you have for your vote for the EG sponsored MVP of this match?
I would either give it to University of Washington's jungler top lane, both Mario and blanking on his name, but they were both amazing in this series. With the map pressure and the macro play, they were able to definitely steamroll the victory they had.
Yep, Mail showing up huge on the Talia in game 1 and putting. Not underestimate how Mario Cool 4 was not only able to play the weak side to perfection in game 1, not handing up so much as a kill on that Shen, but in game 2, being the unkillable frontline threat that not only tanked up 4 members of Washington State University while the rest of his team picked up that Elder Dragon that secured them the game, but also finding that pivotal kill onto the Kaisa on the side of Washington State University. And I think for that reason, I've got to give it up to Mario Cool 4 in the top lane.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you there. He definitely played that second game to perfection, playing that macro amazingly, drawing out Wazoo into the side lanes while his team ended up getting Baron or Dragon and getting out at that. He didn't just die for those causes, he got out. So yeah. I definitely will give it to him.
Yeah, just an absolute... yeah, and I think we're going to be getting into an interview of Mario Cool 4. Player of the match, sponsored by Evil Geniuses. Is that Mario Cool 4 joining the call that I hear? He's going to be getting into the call for just a moment for a winner's interview, and like we said, so many heroes in that game, but he was consistently able to show up with that star performance at every stage of the game. And Mario Cool 4, how do you feel after that 2-0 victory over our rivals, Washington State University?
I felt pretty great. It was kind of pretty fun too to play with the team.
And Mario Cool 4, I have a question for you. When you were playing that game 1, Washington State University seemed to continue to throw everything they could at you. If one person wasn't enough, then they sent 2, then they sent 3, but you always walked away from it with your life. How were you able to outplay those ganks, especially without jungler attention?
I try to keep track like what mostly does the most damage, and I try to seem like, okay, this is the most damage. I try to block this or try to dodge it, and that's how I tend to like avoid the deaths in the top
Yeah,
lane.
you looked absolutely on top of it with those perfectly timed Spirit's Refuges in game 1, but in game 2, even though the Gnar was able to get so much going for his team, you remained the solid rock for the University of Washington, not only drawing so much attention in the top lane while your team was taking that Elder Dragon, but talk to me about that kill that you found on the Kai'Sa that really sealed the deal for your team.
I knew like my main goal in that game was try to like go on the back lane and try to be like going well as I go because of Mundo. So like my goal is like, okay, I see Kai'Sa, I go for Kai'Sa. So I go in, run to her, and try to take as much damage as possible and be annoying to her.
Yeah, and now this question might not be directed specifically at you, Mario 4, but that second game, even though the first one was finished in just 23 minutes, the second one took more than double the time. How was the team feeling at how close they were coming to finishing that game off, but always getting stopped by Washington State University? Did it feel like you guys were just inching closer to a slow-played victory, or was it feeling like you had the opportunity, but it was consistently slipping out of your grasp?
I felt it was kind of both, maybe. I felt like we kind of like lost like kind of a tempo in the game, and also like, well, we also have a champion that can scale into late game as well, so you can have like win con.
Yeah, always keeping in mind those win conditions. That was what really kept you guys together 15 minutes into that game too. And thank you so much for that winner's interview, Mario Cool 4. You are going to be our Evil Genius sponsored player of the match. And congratulations to the University of Washington for winning out in that Apple Cup rivalry match here in League of Legends, taking a 2-0 victory over their opponents. And thank you all in the audience for joining us here on the University of Washington Twitch channel tonight and spending time with our production crew, our players, our talent. Everyone here is putting up so much time behind the scenes to make sure that we can put on a great show in these trying times. And if you want to see more, remember to check us out at U of WSU Esports on most platforms. We have Twitter, we have YouTube, and join the Discord if you're interested in volunteering behind the scenes. But that's going to do it for us here at the broadcast. And everybody in the audience, have a great night. Yeah, and it looks like University of Washington Esports going to win the Apple Cup 2-1.
Hey, let's go! Go UW!
We hate to hear that, I guess. Better luck next year to my boys. I love you. You all did amazing.